Hey guys, it's Mariya. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. I post videos every single Thursday giving you guys music tips, practice vlogs, and everything in between. If any of the stuff I just said interests you, consider subscribing. A few weeks ago, I asked you guys if you wanted a memorization hacks video, and you said yes, so here it is. As you guys know, I post practice vlogs every second week on this channel, and a lot of them is me memorizing my pieces. So I made a list for you guys to help you memorize your pieces if you're struggling, because memorization does not come naturally to me, and I definitely have to make a conscious effort to make it happen. Also, stick around till the end of the video because I will be taking a piece that I'm already working on and showing you guys how I apply these techniques to my piece. So let's get into part one of memorization hacks. Tip number one is look at the big picture. What I mean by this is look at the structure of your piece. Is it sonata allegro form? Is it theme and variations form, rondo form? If you're playing a piece by Haydn, Mozart, or Beethoven, this is gonna come a little bit easier to you than to the rest of us. But even in pieces like Liszt's Sonata in B minor, you can still find sonata allegro form. So you really need to get creative when you're trying to find the form of your piece sometimes. And even if you don't find an analysis on Google, which is honestly my go-to, you can ask your teacher or make up a form yourself that will help you remember. It's super important to get clear on this part of memorization in your piece because even if you do have a memory slip on stage, it will be so much easier for you to recover and get back on track because you will know what section of the piece you're in. Tip number two is geography. What I mean by this is figuring out what the keys look like to you. This is something I've been using for a very long time and it helps me a lot, but it is a fragmented way to memorize and only works in the context of knowing what section of the piece you're in. Some basic keywords I use to memorize are pyramid, which basically means you have one black note in between two white notes, which creates a kind of triangle or pyramid. And another word I use is dome, which is a very similar idea to pyramid. It's just two black keys in between two white keys, which creates a dome shape, which is why I call it dome. Tip number three is harmonic analysis. Now, I am not one of those people that obsessively analyzes every single chord in the piece. I know people that do that and that works for them, and that's great. But what I'm talking about is more simple progressions like 1, 2, 5, 1, or a sequence here or there, and a little bit of applied chords. I do not go as far as to label every single inversion of a diminished seventh of 5 of 5. But if there is a 5 of 5 chord, I will definitely take note of that and remember that when I'm trying to memorize. This is very helpful if you have a section where the harmony is more or less straightforward, or if you have a bigger section in which the harmonic rhythm moves slowly. For example, sometimes you can have arpeggiated passages that keep the same harmony for several bars at a time. And you can really save yourself a lot of time by not trying to remember every single note that you're playing, but rather remembering the big harmonic picture. The next tip is chord blocking, and I use this a lot. It goes hand in hand with harmonic analysis, and what you do is after you're done analyzing your chords in a section, you're gonna then play them blocked to really hear the harmony, not arpeggiated, not broken, but blocked chords. This is gonna help you hear and remember the harmonic movement and the harmony in that section without getting too distracted by everything that's going on around the harmonic structure. Now, my last tip has been the most helpful to me, and it's start from the end. I don't really hear a lot of teachers and students talking about this, but I just started doing this a year ago and it has helped me so much to feel more confident with my piece and my memorization. The idea here is you're always wanting to ease into a section that you've already learned after learning a new one. When I used to memorize starting from the beginning, I would memorize page 1, for example, and then I would have a little sense of anxiety moving on to the next page because I hadn't memorized it yet, and I was feeling nervous about the fact that I didn't really know what's going on. And that sense of anxiousness, even though it was small, it built up over the course of the piece, so the farther into the piece I got, the more I started to doubt myself if I knew the next section that was coming. For the past year, I've been memorizing from the back of the piece. So what happens now is I've memorized the last page, and then when I go to memorize the second last page, I can play it through all the way till the end. And then I memorize the page before that, and now I can play 3 pages continuously. And what happens then is the endings of my pieces are the most comfortable for me, and the more I progress into the piece, the more I'm relieved because I know this section. Let's move on to the piano so I can show you these tips in action. Let's go. The work we have in front of us today is the second movement of Mozart's Sonata in D major. This movement is a nightmare to memorize because there are so many repeating sections and they're almost the same, but not really. So if we take a look at the bigger picture, we have A, B, A, B, A, coda. And if we look at even bigger sections, we have ABA as the first section, ABA as the second section, and A coda as the third section. We have this in G major, this section in D major and D major, and the rest of the sections are in G major. So let's take a look at the second tip, geography. A reminder, this is just how the keys look. For this chord in the left hand, I would describe it as black on the bottom. When I spoke about pyramid, which is more of a white, black, white structure, this is a more lopsided chord with a black key on the bottom and 2 white keys on the top. Next one is pyramid. Indeed, here we have white, black, white. Next, I would label this as down, down. The reason I label it this way is if you look at the patterning for all of these chords throughout this whole section is like a kind of rocking pattern. But here, that pattern breaks, and you have down, down, 2 bass notes in a row. So I would definitely label that so I don't confuse it with the other patterns and play something like there. Down, down. Next, we have a third, 6th, and then 5th. So this brings us right into harmonic analysis. So again, as I said, if you look at the section before this, you can see in green, I color-coded it for you guys so it's a little bit easier for you to see. I did a little bit of harmonic analysis. So in the key of D major, this is 1, 2, 4, 2, 5, 6, 4, 6, diminished 7 of 4. So that's as deep as I'm gonna get with this analysis. Again, it's very surface level. It's not very hard to remember at all, and that's what we want. So moving straight on to chord blocking, the way I would remember this is just by blocking the chords. And I like to also say the names of the chords out loud. 1, 2, 4, 2, 5, 6, 4, 6, diminished of 4. And then we have the black on the bottom, pyramid, down, down, 3rd, 6th, 5th, and that's it. I have the left hand for that section. Let's move on to the last tip, which is starting from the end. And if you noticed, I did a mini version of that by starting with the ending part of this section, geography, and moving on to the previous section with my analysis. But in the grand scheme of things, I would definitely take that very literally and start from the coda. Again, when I would start to memorize from the coda, I would start by memorizing my left hand. Do a little bit of chord analysis there. That seems like a very simple progression. And go on to playing both hands together. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments which of these 5 tips you found most useful. I'll see you in my next video, guys. Bye.